Mad Max 2. The Road Warrior isn't just a movie, it's a warning carved into celluloid. A world where gasoline is gold, the roads are ruled by madness, and survival comes at full throttle. But behind the dust, the engines, and the leather-clad chaos lies a production story that's just as wild as the film itself. Today, we're uncovering 21 weird facts, plus one absolutely insane bonus, from brutal filming conditions and dangerous stunts to hidden meanings and behind-the-scenes decisions that changed action cinema forever. You'll hear stories even longtime fans missed, moments that almost shut the movie down, and secrets George Miller never expected to become legend. So buckle up, because this isn't just a rewatch, it's a RewatchClub road trip straight into cinematic madness. Number 1, this movie was filmed during a real fuel crisis. Mad Max 2 doesn't feel authentic by accident. It was born out of real-world desperation.
Well, there it is.
When production began in Australia, the country was still reeling from the late 1970s oil crisis. Fuel shortages were real, prices were rising, and the fear of scarcity was everywhere. George Miller didn't invent the anxiety fueling this world. He simply amplified what people were already living through. Ironically, this made filming the movie painfully difficult. Gasoline had to be rationed on set, even though the film revolved entirely around vehicles and high-speed chases. Every stunt, every take, every explosion had to be carefully planned because fuel waste wasn't just expensive, it was irresponsible. That tension bleeds directly into the movie's DNA. When characters fight over fuel, it doesn't feel like science fiction. It feels like tomorrow. And that realism is exactly why Mad Max 2 still hits so hard today. Number 2. Most of the stunts were performed by non-professional bikers. The savage biker gang in The Road Warrior looks terrifying because, in many ways, they were. Instead of relying on trained Hollywood stunt teams, the production recruited real-life Australian bikers, many with zero film experience. These riders weren't just background decoration. They performed dangerous maneuvers at high speeds, often with minimal protective gear. Some of them didn't even know how movies were made. They simply showed up, followed loose instructions, and rode like they always had. The result is raw, uncontrolled energy that no choreographed stunt sequence could replicate. You feel the danger because it's real. Several riders were injured during filming, and some stunts went wrong in ways that would shut down a modern production instantly. But the chaos gave the film its brutal authenticity. This wasn't acting. This was organized mayhem. Number 3, the Lord Humongous voice was completely replaced. Lord Humongous commands the screen. Calm, threatening, almost mythic. But here's the strange part. That's not his real voice.
I'm gravely disappointed. Again, you have made me unleash my totes of horror.
Actor Kjell Nilsson, a former bodybuilder, had a thick Swedish accent that didn't fit the character's eerie authority. Instead of dubbing him poorly or hiding it, George Miller made a bold decision. He replaced the voice entirely in post-production. Another actor recorded the dialogue, giving Humongous that slow, controlled, unsettling delivery. The result is iconic. It also adds to the character's mystique. His voice feels disconnected from his body, almost inhuman, reinforcing the idea that he's more symbol than man. Fans rarely realize it's a dub, but once you know, you can't unhear it. And suddenly, Humongous feels even more unreal. Number 4. Mel Gibson nearly didn't return as Max. It's hard to imagine anyone else wearing Max's leather jacket, but Mel Gibson almost didn't come back.
2 days ago, I saw a vehicle that'd haul that tanker.
After the first Mad Max became an international success, Gibson's career exploded. Hollywood came calling, and scheduling conflicts nearly pushed him out of the sequel. For a brief moment, George Miller considered recasting Max entirely. But something didn't feel right. Max wasn't just a role. He was the emotional spine of this brutal world. A different face would fracture the connection audiences already had. Eventually, schedules aligned just enough, and Gibson returned. His quieter, more haunted performance in Mad Max 2 transformed the character from revenge-driven cop into a wandering myth. And that evolution is exactly why this sequel became legendary. Number 5, the film's minimal dialogue was a strategic choice. If Mad Max 2 feels quiet, it's because silence was part of the plan. George Miller intentionally stripped dialogue to a bare minimum so the film could transcend language barriers.
Only because at the end of Mad Max 2, it turns out that the narrator is the feral kid as an old man.
He wanted the visuals, the action, and the emotional beats to tell the story universally. This made the movie easier to export internationally, but more importantly, it turned Max into a near-mythical figure. He speaks rarely. When he does, it matters. The silence also amplifies tension. Every engine rev, every footstep, every scream carries weight. In a strange way, Mad Max 2 behaves like a silent film, just with roaring engines instead of piano music. And that timeless approach is why it still works across generations. Number 6. Many injuries you see on screen are real. There's a reason the violence in The Road Warrior feels uncomfortably authentic. Multiple stunt performers were genuinely injured during filming.
Examine stuntman Guy Norris. His injuries will not permit him to return to the production.
Broken bones, road burns, and collisions that went far beyond controlled risk. In some cases, George Miller kept rolling even after accidents, later integrating the footage into the final cut. You're watching real pain, real impact, real consequences. Modern productions would never allow this. Insurance alone would shut it down instantly. But in 1981, this rawness gave the film its edge. You don't watch Mad Max 2, you survive it. And audiences felt that, even if they couldn't explain why. Number 7. The world was designed to feel like a dying memory. One of the strangest things about Mad Max 2 is how familiar everything feels. Even as society collapses, that's intentional.
How do we know that one's not a dud?
Find out.
Cool.
George Miller designed the world to look like a decaying echo of our own civilization. Road signs still stand. Oil pumps still exist. Cars are patched together from recognizable parts. Nothing feels alien, just broken. This makes the apocalypse feel closer, more personal. It's not the end of the world after thousands of years. It's the end of our world, just a few bad decisions away. And that creeping realism is what turns Mad Max 2 from an action movie into a nightmare you can't quite shake. If you're enjoying these deep cuts, hit like and subscribe. It tells the algorithm you want more high-octane nostalgia like this. And trust me, the weirdest facts are still ahead. Number 8. Almost every vehicle was built from scrapped cars. Nothing in Mad Max 2 looks factory-made, because almost nothing was.
On the battle-scarred highways of tomorrow's burnt-out world.
The production team scoured junkyards across Australia, pulling apart wrecked cars and welding them back together into rolling nightmares. These weren't prop shells. Most of them were fully functional vehicles, rebuilt by hand to survive high-speed chases across rough terrain. The now iconic spiked cars, armored panels, and exposed engines were born out of necessity. There was no budget for pristine hero vehicles. What you see on screen is creative desperation turned into design language. And that's why the vehicles feel alive, scarred, aggressive, unpredictable. Each one tells a story before it ever crashes. In a strange way, the cars are characters too, and most of them die brutal deaths. Number 9. The Gyro Captain was never meant to be likable. The Gyro Captain is loud, strange, awkward, and unforgettable.
It's my snake. I trained it. I'm gonna eat it. So find your own. Get out of it.
But originally, the character was written to be far more annoying and disposable. He wasn't supposed to win over audiences. He was meant to represent the chaos of survival. Selfish, cowardly, and slightly unhinged. Then Bruce Spence showed up. Spence injected the role with unexpected charm, humor, and vulnerability. His physical comedy and odd sincerity shifted the tone of every scene he was in. George Miller noticed immediately, and instead of cutting the character down, he expanded his presence. That decision paid off massively. The Gyro Captain became a fan favorite, and proof that even in the wasteland, humanity still flickers. Sometimes survival looks ridiculous, and sometimes that's the point. Number 10. The final chase took weeks to film and nearly shut everything down. The legendary tanker chase didn't just push cinematic boundaries, it nearly destroyed the production. Filming that sequence took weeks longer than planned. Vehicles broke down constantly, tires shredded, engines overheated, and every reset required rebuilding entire sections of road and wreckage. At one point, production came dangerously close to running out of money. But George Miller refused to compromise. He wanted the chase to feel relentless, like it never lets the audience breathe. To achieve that, shots were designed to overlap visually, creating the illusion of nonstop momentum. The result is one of the most influential action sequences ever filmed. Directors still study it today, and it all came from stubborn obsession and a refusal to slow down. Number 11. Max speaks less. Because he's already dead inside. Max's silence isn't just stylistic, it's psychological. By the time Mad Max 2 begins, Max has lost everything. His family, his identity, his purpose.
And the Road Warrior. That was the last we ever saw of him.
George Miller intentionally stripped away dialogue to show a man surviving on instinct alone. Max doesn't explain himself because he no longer believes explanation matters. He's not trying to save the world. He's just trying to get through it. This emotional numbness is why his rare acts of kindness hit so hard. When Max helps others, it feels earned, almost painful. He isn't a hero. He's a ghost with an engine, and that's why audiences connect with him so deeply, even decades later. Number 12. The compound was built in the middle of nowhere on purpose. The refinery compound wasn't just isolated. It was deliberately placed far from civilization. George Miller wanted the cast and crew to feel cut off. Long drives, limited supplies, extreme heat, it all mirrored the conditions of the story.
It's been a pleasure doing business with you, but I'm leaving.
This wasn't method acting by accident. It was environmental storytelling. The exhaustion you see on screen? Real. The desperation? Real. Actors weren't going home to comfort every night. They were living the grind, and it bonded them into a temporary tribe. That shared hardship seeps into every frame. You believe these people would die for fuel, because for weeks, it was all they had. Number 13. This film quietly reinvented the action genre. Before Mad Max 2, action movies were flashy, dialogue-heavy, and hero-driven.
You want to get out of here? You talk to me.
After it, everything changed. Fast cutting, practical stunts, minimal exposition, environmental storytelling. The Road Warrior became a blueprint. Hollywood didn't immediately admit it, but filmmakers everywhere took notes. You can trace its DNA through decades of cinema, from dystopian blockbusters to gritty car chases and silent anti-heroes. What makes this strange is that Mad Max 2 didn't feel like a revolution at the time. It just felt different, dangerous, alive. Only later did people realize action movies had crossed a line, and there was no going back. Number 14. The ending twist was designed to break expectations. That final reveal, the tanker's true contents, wasn't just clever. It was philosophical. George Miller wanted to challenge the idea that violence automatically leads to reward. Max fights, bleeds, and risks everything, only to discover that the prize isn't what he thought. Fuel, the object of obsession, turns out to be a decoy. The real treasure escapes quietly, carried by community, not chaos. It's a brutal subversion of action movie logic, and it leaves Max alone once again. This moment reframes the entire film.
Go on, get out. Scat. Yeah.
It's not about winning, it's about what survives. And if you think that's strange, just wait for the bonus fact. If Mad Max 2 shaped your love for gritty action cinema, tap like and subscribe. It helps this channel keep the wasteland alive. And tell me in the comments, when did you first watch this movie? Number 15. Many explosions were done with one take only. There was no luxury of second chances on Mad Max 2. Because of budget limits and safety risks, many explosions and crashes were designed for a single take. If something went wrong, there was no reset. The wreckage became part of the set, and the story moved forward. This forced the crew to commit fully. Every stunt required absolute precision, or total chaos. You can feel that tension on screen. The explosions aren't clean or polished. They're violent, abrupt, and terrifyingly final. That's because they were final. Once a vehicle exploded, it was gone forever. That sense of no return is baked into the film's rhythm. And it's one of the reasons the action still feels so dangerous today. Number 16. The leather costumes were meant to feel like armor. The iconic leather outfits weren't chosen for style alone.
Goodbye. Good luck.
George Miller wanted the costumes to feel like improvised armor, scavenged protection in a world where safety no longer exists. Many pieces were intentionally stiff, cracked, and uncomfortable. Actors wore them for long hours in extreme heat, which added to the physical exhaustion and raw body language you see on screen. This wasn't fashion, it was survival gear. Over time, those leather designs became legendary, copied endlessly in post-apocalyptic films and pop culture. But at their core, they represent fear. Fear turned into armor, identity forged from damage. Number 17. The movie was hugely changed for American audiences. When Mad Max 2 was prepared for the US release, distributors worried that audiences wouldn't follow the story clearly enough.
The Ayatollah of rock and roller!
So they added a narrator. That opening voiceover, calm, mythic, almost like a legend being told, reframed the entire movie. Suddenly, Max wasn't just a man wandering the wasteland, he was a story, a warning passed down through generations. Ironically, this change helped the film succeed massively in America. It made the movie feel like modern folklore, something timeless rather than foreign. What began as a marketing decision accidentally deepened the film's mythology. Sometimes compromise creates magic. Number 18. Max's car is a symbol of his last humanity. The interceptor isn't just transportation. It's the last physical connection Max has to his former life. As a cop, a husband, a man with something to lose.
Juices I can carry.
We lost 8 good people this morning.
Every dent and repair reflects his psychological decay. As the car deteriorates, so does Max's emotional connection to the world. By the time it's destroyed, Max is truly alone. No home, no community, no past. That loss isn't just practical, it's spiritual. The road doesn't just take people, it strips away identity, and Max keeps driving anyway. Number 19. The film accidentally created the silent action hero trope. Mad Max 2 didn't set out to invent a trope, but it did. Before this movie, action heroes explained themselves.
Now, to do the job, I need 5 gallons of diesel and some high-octane gasoline.
They joked, monologued, and justified their violence. Max does none of that. He observes, he reacts, he survives. That quiet intensity became a template, influencing countless characters who followed. The idea that silence could be more powerful than dialogue reshaped how heroes were written. Max doesn't need speeches. The wasteland speaks for him, and audiences listened. Number 20. The ending turns. Max into a legend, not a savior. One of the strangest choices in Mad Max 2 is that Max doesn't stay. He helps the community and then disappears.
What about me? You're not gonna leave it here, are you?
Do what you want.
There's no celebration, no gratitude scene, no reward. The settlers survive because of him, but he doesn't belong with them. This choice elevates Max beyond hero status. He becomes a legend that passes through lives without ever stopping, a force of nature, a cautionary tale, and that quiet exit lingers far longer than any victory speech ever could. Number 21. Bonus fact. The stunt that went wrong became one of the movie's most iconic shots. One of the most unforgettable crashes in Mad Max 2 was never supposed to happen that way. During the climactic chase, a stunt rider lost control at high speed and was violently thrown from his bike, tumbling across the road in a way that looked horrifyingly final. The crew immediately thought the stunt had gone catastrophically wrong. But the rider survived. When George Miller reviewed the footage, he realized something chilling. The accident looked perfect. The fall was brutal, chaotic, and completely unrepeatable. It captured exactly what the film was about. The randomness of survival in a world where one mistake means death. Instead of cutting the shot, Miller kept it in the final film. What you're watching in that moment isn't choreography. It's a real accident, frozen forever in cinema history. And once you know that, that scene doesn't just thrill you anymore. It unsettles you. Mad Max 2. The Road Warrior isn't just an action movie. It's a scar left on cinema, a reminder of what happens when fear, desperation, and survival collide at full speed. It showed us a future that felt uncomfortably close, and a hero who never asked to save anyone. If this movie still gives you chills, the engines, the silence, the dust, you're not alone. So here's the challenge. If you've ever rewatched this film and noticed something new, if the wasteland still calls to you, hit like, subscribe, and tell us below which Mad Max moment is burned into your memory forever. Because once you ride the road, you're already part of Rewatch Club.